Hello, ladies. I hope that you will pardon me for being like 2 minutes late, but as usual, it's like, you with YouTube going live, it's like you knock at the door and you have to wait for the door to open. So, this is what happened. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to continue a little bit on the idea of creativity. And hi, Ilyanka. What I will want to talk about is also how your health can influence your creativity. So not just your mental health, but also your physical health. And hi, Adelaide. Yeah, I hope everybody's well too. I hope you're not in an area that has wildfires or flood or extreme heat. Here I said Indian summer because we are finally in the lower 90s and we even had some rain, which of course made it that I wasn't able to do much last week because we had rain pretty much every day, and if it wasn't right in my spot, it was close enough to influence the atmospheric pressure, so it would influence me too. Hi, Francis. The other thing is I want to talk to you about what we are going to do tomorrow and what follows. Thank you, Kumakonda. Um, And the whole idea is that to finish the hoops earrings theme, I have talked to, just a second, I'm trying to find something here. I have talked to Anna Gabaldon Carrasco, and we are going to do a co-hosted thing. As I was saying, her channel Celebrate Creation, she actually has two channels, one that has more polymer clay things and the other one that has beading, especially seed beads and loom seed beads and all kinds of other creations. And tomorrow I will show you how to do the little things that will allow you to connect the hoop to the ear wire in such a way that it will still maintain the hoop round, not have it, go too much forward or too much backwards. Now, let's see. And the other thing is that so tomorrow I will show you how to do that, and we will do the whole how to create something with polymer clay that you can finish up with beads, and we will do the creating the something with polymer clay. And then next Sunday will be the co-hosted thing where we will discuss the pros and cons of everything, and then Anna's going to show you how to add seed beads to the whole thing and explain to you, because she's much better than me when it comes to finishing and connecting to the fittings and closings and all that, loves the clasps and all that stuff. So this is what we are going to do. I am trying to find something here on my computer to tell you what we are going to do 2 weeks from tomorrow. Let me just look in the Seagate. Yeah, I still didn't get another graphics card For now, I was able to patch the one I have. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but nevertheless, I'm still missing some money. Amazingly, when I bought this one, it was top of the line, and it was pretty much 10 years ago. And of course, now it's not top of the line, but because of the increasing costs, especially on electronics and stuff that's got chips and all this, unfortunately, a decent one is still over $300. So I don't intend to buy a $90 or $100 used one, because it might be worse than the one I have, if you know what I mean. You know, yeah, I could get one like that from eBay, but I'd rather not. I'd rather get it from somewhere where I have some kind of warranty, and I can return it and get my money back if it's not working. So, and as I said, I had in schedule to buy a completely, I mean, not completely new computer, but to upgrade everything that I have in this one. Unfortunately, Finnegan's surgery and health issues completely ate all that budget away. So I still have close to $600 to pay now from the $3,000 loan I took for him. And don't get me wrong, I don't regret it, because, you know, Finnegan is the love of my heart. I have now Seamus looking at me and talking to me. Yes, I know. I don't know if you can hear him. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about is what we are going to do also 2 weeks from now. I cannot find that thing. I had it done, but it's not there anymore. So I'm going to try and do something here instead. Okay, I got it. All right, and I will have to get my show display again. It shouldn't do any more issues, because again, this time it is working. All right, we are good. So what I thought of doing for next time is to go actually into the what is the best 3 colors combinations, 2 color combinations, and then do a mokumegane in that style. And I will do again the whole explanation with, where are you and where aren't you? There we go. The explanation with the color theory and how to create that. And especially that is very good not just for jewelry, but also for decorations, because we all like to do a lot of decorations with our polymer clay. So that is really, really important to learn. Okay, why are you not coming up? Give me just a second, let me open this. All right, so what I want to show you the way that we will go doing that. Ideally is to have, again, we're gonna work with Premo, and ideally is to have the primary colors, and I will give you the recipes on how to create the other colors. But okay, so let's go with this. One of the color combinations that are very much in fashion are, oh, I already opened this here, never mind. I don't want that. So navy blue and white, we are going to go past it, because remember what I was telling you is that it's a good thing to have two, to have white and black as permanent in your mokumegane if you want it to pop. So I'm going to go past anything that already has black and white. What are you doing here? So I went into this, and we can have this, but if we go by, where's my wheel? Okay, so if we go by the wheel, what I was telling you, and if you watched my mini series on mokumegane, in the first episode I explained the whole color wheel, where we have the primary colors that would be red, blue, and yellow. And then we have secondary colors that are orange, violet, and green. And each of them can be obtained, each of the secondaries can be obtained by mixing two of the primaries. Obviously, orange by mixing red and yellow, blue, violet by mixing blue and red, and green by mixing blue and yellow. Orange is a secondary color, and then you have the tertiary colors, where you can you can obtain the tertiary colors by mixing a primary color and a secondary color, like red orange, obviously red and orange. So in order to get the best color combination that can be, you have the black, you have the white, and then you choose colors that are completely opposite on the color wheel. So let's say that we choose yellow orange and blue violet, and then on one of them you move to the left or to the right. So instead of blue violet you get either blue or violet, or instead of yellow orange you get either orange or yellow. And that second color that you choose, you either tint it or you shade it. That means you either mix it with white, or you mix it in with black to soften the primary color that you have there. So we are going to go by that, and then check into what are the colors for this fall, and make a mokumegane that is by that trend. And I will show you some different style mokumegane than what you are used to. So again, I will give you the color recipe for the colors we are going to use, and it's going to be by the best colors chosen by the powers that be, Pantone, usually. Generally speaking, if you find the type of, now to answer Francis, if you find the type of jewelry stuff, jewelry piece, whatever you want to call it. And I do have that. Hi, Kim. I do have that, so I can show you that. remember to either send me a message on Facebook or post in one of the polls that I'm putting up, and I need to put up a new poll for September, and we'll go by that for the future ones. Um, you have to think of several ways you can connect. One is obviously gluing. Another one is depending on the type of material that you have, that specific piece that you want to connect polymer clay to, you might be able to drill a hole in it and connect stuff that way. Also, when I'm talking about gluing, you can glue either the polymer clay, and of course, in that case, you have to be very careful what type of glue you're using, because not all glues are good for polymer clay. Some of them eat up the polymer clay. And I always recommend, if you look in my Amazon influencer store, I always recommend the 2 parts Loctite. The Loctite generally is good, but why I prefer the 2 parts is that if you get the 2 parts, you don't run the risk of it hardening after you open it, because a lot of times we get this thing, we get some very good glue and we use it and blah blah blah, and then we put the lid on, and then when we go back to using it, it's already dried out and hard as a rock. But with the Loctite 2 parts, that cannot happen, because that one doesn't harden unless you mix the 2 parts, and as you have 2 nozzles, those 2 parts don't come together. And there are some of the, not all of the Loctite 2 parts has the same type of closure. On some of them you can close them by using the specific thing to close them, but with other ones you just have to put some cling wrap on top of it. So we are going to address that. I know that I do have ear cuffs, and I did get them now. Are you talking about the, because you can make ear cuffs just with polymer clay? As I remember that I had a line of ear cuffs long time ago when I was still going selling at venues, that were going the ones that start here, then go behind the ear, and then continue down. I had that kind of stuff. And then there are the other cuffs that just go like this around the edge of your ear. So we can do both. I have that kind that just goes around your ear, and then we can do the other kind as well. The other kind needs to have a wire armature, unless you are using a very flexible clay like cast clay. You can do with regular clay, but it requires a lot of attention and quite some expertise. But if you use cast clay, then you don't have to worry about it. And cast clay lately has come up with all kinds of metallics and translucent, even if the translucent is always out of stock. Because I've been trying to get some for myself for a while and I cannot find it. Another thing is that I started already working on some pre-recorded tutorials, so fingers crossed I'm able to start posting again soon. I also had some pre-recorded material that I might have to retape some of it because I'm not very happy with it. So this is for plans for the future, but let's go back to the whole thing with health issues. As I talked about how crafting can influence your well-being, because generally speaking, when we start aging, and or when we have all kinds of disability, it affects our well-being mentally, and obviously it's going to affect even more. The mental part is going to affect even more the um, physical well-being. The thing is that there are some things that you have to be very, very careful not to fall in the other extreme, um, and not be able to do things while at the same time not be able to do things and then start going to depression because of that and all that kind of stuff. Francis, the word of order is clip on. You don't have to do ear cuffs, you can do clip ons. Clip ons are for no piercings. Okay, so there are certain conditions that pretty much no matter what you do, you will still have a hard time um, doing things, getting back into a creative state of mind, and so on. And unfortunately, for this, you do need to talk to a doctor. Now, I'm not going to give any kind of diagnostic because I'm not a licensed medical professional in the US, but from my previous life and knowledge, I can tell you that there are certain things that will make you unable to do things. And like, I've been struggling very hard because I am hypothyroid. When your thyroid doesn't work very good, you have chronic fatigue. And when you have chronic fatigue, it's not a lot you can do. And it's not just the thyroid that can cause the chronic fatigue. There are a lot of other medical conditions. And like, let's say, fibromyalgia, several treatments for other diseases that can leave you with the chronic fatigue side effect, of course, cancer, pain, consistent pain, chronic pain gives chronic fatigue because it is very tiring to be in pain all the time. Now, in some of these conditions, being a little bit more active physically can do wonders. A lot of times it is impossible. I completely agree. Like, for example, for a while, for a few months, I've been trying to get back to my walking routine because it helped me bunches in the past, like back in 2015, 2016. I lost over 60 pounds within like 14 months. And I started, just by going 2 houses down the street and back. The next day I would go 3 houses down the street and back, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do so once my thyroid meds started to be a little bit more effective, because we got hit by the heat wave, and that started in May practically. So it was too hot for me to be able to go outside and walk, and too hot and too humid. And I do have issues with humidity when breathing because, again, when I had the chemo, one of the chemo meds damaged my lungs, the very top of it. I have apical fibrosis, and so I wasn't able to walk. I've been trying, to walk around the house, but it's not the same thing. And the other thing, and I'm gonna be very, very honest with you, um, but this can be once the weather gets a little bit cooler, I can just walk on my driveway. Because the other thing is that I started being afraid to walk because all of these shootings. I mean, Oklahoma City, where I live, I mean, the whole metro area, except for a few well known areas, like all cities, it's got its so called ghetto areas, was fairly safe. And with me living so close to the Air Force Base, it was always considered a safe area. And there are several websites online that show you the incidents that have been around your address, like here was a robbery, here was a murder, here was an arson, and so on and so forth. And if before there would be some rare burglaries and not very close to my house, I mean, like a block or two away, and now it's way more than that. So, as a now elderly woman with problems walking too fast, I am worried, so I don't dare to go anymore. It's like, before I was walking my dogs, and I didn't have a problem, but in the last couple years before Whisper died, I decided not to take him outside anymore because the number of stray dogs in my neighborhood and in the whole city has raised substantially. And it was like 90% of those stray dogs were pit bulls. I mean, we had many cases of people mauled and even mauled to death by stray dogs. So I decided to not take Whisper out for a walk. And yeah, it's very frustrating, but at least I'm going to start. I should be able to do that if I go by the weather forecast. I should be able to start doing that. Not tomorrow. I temperature wise, I should have been able to do that this past week, but it rained. But I should be able to start doing that Monday morning, because the temperatures are finally somewhere under 72 degrees. And I have a fairly narrow comfort temperature. I mean, it's like between 71 and 73. Anything that's below 71, it's too cold for me, and above 73, it's too hot. But I'd rather be too cold because I can put something on, So, yeah. So one of the things, as I said, is exercise. Uh, the other thing, and again, I know it is quite difficult in this day and age and with the prices that we have, is to be careful about your diet. I don't have to tell you that refined carbs are going to tire you out, even if, because you have that rebound, and you might feel a little bit more energetic right after you eat them, but within half an hour to an hour, you're going to start feeling tired. So ideally, you need to be very careful to not eat many refined carbs. And I'm not trying to drone it like that. Um, Try to eat clean protein. I'm not saying to not eat meat because, especially when you're getting up in age, you do need uh, protein. And as a vegetarian, yeah, you can get protein from various vegetables, um, but um, they might not be enough. So eat protein, but eat clean protein. I mean, you can eat eggs. Try to be like a lacto ovo vegetarian. That works great. Um, and if you decide to eat meat, obviously avoid all the red meats, all the processed meats, all that. And the thing is that we do need calcium. We do need vitamin B complex. Generally, the B vitamins are the ones that give you the energy. I was telling you, I think in 2020, couple close to a couple years ago, that I had found that a supplement, a Drafinol, that was doing wonders for my energy. Unfortunately, you cannot find it anymore because one of the main ingredients in it was imported from China, and it's not available anymore. And if you can find it, it's got such astronomical prices that I cannot afford to get it anymore. There are a couple others, but unfortunately, they don't have as good of an effect on me as a Drafinil, or they are as expensive as a Drafinil, or they give me an upset stomach. So I cannot do that anymore. So that's why I went back into the I'm tired and I know it. So I know it is a struggle, but when you have this struggle, it is hard to hike out. It is hard to get up and do stuff. One thing that I've been doing, and it helps me a lot, it kind of helped me to pick myself up a little bit more, is that even if I'm tired and I don't feel like doing much, and just to, lay on the couch, watch TV, I try to not lay on the couch, instead lay on the floor. I keep forgetting. I am so sorry. Uh, Lay on the floor with my back resting on the bottom part of the couch, and try to still do a little bit of exercise while I am watching TV. I mean, if it just means lifting my legs or bringing my knee to my chest, or some doing the scissors. That's when you lift your legs at 45 degrees and you do this, and it has a lot of help for the core muscles. Even if it's that little of a thing, and it still does help. Or I would just grab stuff and start dusting around if I'm a little bit more energetic. I mean, try to do something. The other thing is that I was telling you, if you are in such a funk and so low in terms of energy and all that, and I was telling you, um, start by doing one thing a day. Like, make sure that you do one thing a day that is housekeeping. So that has to be something. If it is washing dishes, if it is changing the bed sheets, if it is doing the laundry, if it is dusting, if it is vacuuming one room, no matter what, do one thing. And what I forgot to tell you is that you don't stop there. You need to add to that, um, Oh, I have a beautiful boy here who wants attention. That's the beautiful boy who wants attention. He's my little bear cat. He's not little, but he still is my bear cat. He's a very big boy. Opa, 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 opa. Yes, my gorgeous. I don't know if I told you, but when I got his DNA, because I thought he was just a Maine Coon mix, but when I got him DNA tested, he's actually more Norwegian forest cat than Maine Coon. He does have some mat blood, but he's like 80% uh, breed and 20% mat. And of the 80%, 60% is Norwegian and only 20% is Maine Coon. That's why his tufts are so small. Okay, I'm trying to lift him so you can see how big he is. My bear cat. Yes. And then he's a very loving baby. Oh, you wanna go down? You wanna go down? He is very big. He's about 18 pounds. And he's not fat. He's just fluffy. I mean, without kidding, he's just fluffy. He's not fat. But funny part is that Finnegan, except for the total length, Finnegan, and actually with the total length, because Finnegan's tail is much longer and here, cat here, much longer and fluffier than Connor's. But generally speaking, Finnegan looks almost as big as Connor, but he's actually less than half of Connor's weight. Yes, he is just a love bug. He just wants attention. I know, come on up. Connor, come on up here. Come on up here. Come up here to Mama. No, he's just kissing stuff. So as I was saying, don't stop to one. I mean, do one for, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Then start adding one more thing. And the other one more thing that you want to add, what the heck, I didn't brush it this morning. No, I didn't brush it this morning. He's got the habit of putting his tail in my mouth. I don't suggest that you add like the second thing to be something relative to creating stuff, because it would be a little bit too early. Unless if you want would be, I'm gonna reorganize one quarter of my craft room, which honestly it's really impossible, because when you reorganize the craft room, the thing is that you pull everything down, you kind of put it on pieces and groups on the floor, and then you put everything back on. So it's not a matter of one day. No, just don't start any big project. That's very, very important. Don't start a very big project, because it will not be feasible at that stage, and you're gonna get even more. I have a corner here that floats around my face. It's gonna make you even more disheartened about the whole thing. So I suggest the second thing that you add would be still one other housework thing, and then after you do for 2 or 3 weeks a second one, then you add a third one. And again, it's at your choice if you want to do at the third one. It's your choice if you want to do a crafting thing, or if you want to do a housekeeping thing. But I would suggest at this stage, do not throw yourself into creating something. Or if you throw yourself into creating something, go for something very simple. Instead, do preparation. So um, use the first day, for example, into planning something and into getting your supplies out and ready. Then the second day, actually create that object and do whatever baking or UV lamp setting or whatever it needs. And on the third day, do the finishing of that object. If it needs sanding, if it needs buffing, if it needs lacquering, if it needs, you know. But again, at this point, the third thing can still be a housekeeping. When you start adding the fourth thing, that one definitely needs to be crafting. And again, ease yourself into it. Do not attempt to do anything big. Do not attempt to do anything big, because once again, if you try to get yourself out of the funk, and if you get an object that is huge, a project that is huge, you will not be able to do it. You will not be able to finish it, and you will get just discouraged and stop doing it and go back to where you were. If you do have, like, if your whole house is a big project, because I know from all the talks I had with a lot of people, many in the in our crafting community and outside of it, kind of let themselves go. Hi, Karen. Kind of let themselves go when it comes to not just, and again, we are not in a place of judging, we are in a place of helping. So in order to be able to help ourselves, we have to um, do something. Ilyanka, I do, whenever I make texture sheets out of Bacon Bond, I prepare them with the thickest setting on a pasta machine, put in 2, so that when I end up after doing the texture on it, of course it thins out and it gets about 1.5 the thickness, the thickest thickness on the pasta machine. So generally speaking, this is how it goes. So getting back to what I was talking about, if you're as I said, a lot of people in our crafting community and outside of it have let themselves go, and not necessarily in terms of having a big mess in the house, not in the mess in terms of being dirty, but in terms of being completely disorganized. And the same would go for the crafting area and everything. So that might look like a huge project, right? The best thing to do in that is to get yourself some big boxes and just start picking up from the surface. Like, for example, if we are talking housekeeping, just either put in a box or stack in one corner everything that would go in the same place. Like, talking craft stuff, put all the textures in one box, put all the mica powders and pigments and chalk pastels and stuff in one box, put stuff like that. When it comes to housekeeping, again, like, get everything that needs to be washed in one pile, get everything that doesn't you practically don't need anymore. And that is very important, because as we get older, we have the tendency to hoard, and it's a very big contributing factor to an disorganized, completely upside down house. Be very honest with yourself. Like, like 2 years ago, when I did the biggest thing of my house, I did have a lot of designer clothing and a lot of shoes. I was always a shoes woman. My dad used to jokingly call me Imelda Marcos. Before I left Romania, I had 158 pairs of shoes. I was to the point that I had a lady who was a seamstress and who was doing a lot of my outfits. I would design them and she would do them for me. And I usually bought the material, and I would always keep a piece of material because I also had a shoemaker, and I would go to him and he would make me shoes from the same material, so I would be perfectly coordinated. I mean, I was crazy. So there were a lot of shoes that I had from before I got diagnosed with breast cancer, and they're like a keepsake for me. You know, I would look at them and like, oh, I was so. And when I started cleaning my house, I looked at those shoes, and I looked at those dresses and outfits and everything. I was like, am I seriously going to be able to wear these again? And the answer was no. I was like, why do I keep them? Why do I have them? And I kept for myself, you know, like a evening outfit, like a business casual outfit. You know, I kept 3 outfits, and then everything else I donated. Same for the shoes. I kept a few that were flats and were good quality, and the rest I donated. Then I had a lot of little tchotchkes and knickknacks, because a lot of times I would go, I used to be a Goodwill slash thrift store addict, and I would find a lot of good stuff there. And I had a lot of tchotchkes and little things, and I went through them because I was like, I'm spending close to 2 hours dusting all of this in my house. Why? So I went back to what one of my grandmas or mothers used to tell me, that if you have more tchotchkes than the number of shelves in your house, you have too many. So I went ahead and I donated a lot of those too. I only kept the ones that had any kind of value, actually. And so on. And then I had a lot of crafting stuff that I had doubles, or I had the old version and the new version. So I went ahead and I gathered all that, and I gave away to a local artist who at the time couldn't afford a lot of stuff, and I gave her all those. And again, be very, very, very honest with yourself. Don't go, oh, I'm sure I'm gonna have a use for this. And forget about the fact that, you know, the idea that once you throw something away, the next day you're gonna need it. Think about how many times you actually needed it in the last year, the last 2 years, the last 3 years, how many times you wore that thing. And I'm not talking about, because don't get me wrong, I still kept all kinds of stuff that pertain to maintaining the household. Like, I didn't throw away washers or zip ties or a bag of nails or stuff like that. No, those you keep because you don't know when. Just make a certain drawer ready for that. And try and rearrange your house by efficiency, not by where can I put this? I'm gonna just stuff it in here. No, try and think logically and efficiently, because it can happen, like Kim says, you don't know as you age and as you're getting more disabled. It's going to be harder for you to get up and do stuff. And if you get up to do something, and then it's like, oh, but in order to do this, I need that, and that is at the other end of the house in a drawer. I don't feel like getting up to get it, so I'm not gonna do this either. And you don't want that. There is a reason why you want to have things organized efficiently, and you know how and what you have to have. You think exactly what you need close to you when you're crafting, by order of how often you use it. Yes, yes, he wants more petting. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. If you take 100 houses with 100 women in them, and you switch them from house to house, and you ask them to find the plates, find the glasses, find the pots, and so on and so forth, they will all go directly where they are, even if they've never been in that house before. And I remember that was a very funny experiment with my ex. When we got married and I came to the US, he had lived in his house for about a year by himself. So after I came, of course, it took me a week or two of getting used to, and then I started arranging and organizing the house. He still had boxes unpacked from when he moved, but that's like men are, so I'm not gonna judge on that. Anyway, so I rearranged the whole kitchen. And at one point, a couple days later, he wanted to get something and he didn't find it where it was, and he got upset. And, I told him, number one, that's none of your business because you're not cooking anymore. I'm cooking. You're not allowed to cook. I mean, for goodness sakes, the only thing that man knew how to make was a concoction involving ground beef, sauteed onion, and corn that not even the dogs wanted to eat. But let me not digress. And I said, you guys have no idea how to arrange a kitchen. Women do. Thank you, Adelaide. Women do, and I'm gonna prove it to you. So I called a friend of ours who lived a street over, and I told her, come over, because I made a bet with him, and let's see if I'm right or if he's right. And she came, poor woman. She was like, what? And we dragged her in the middle of the kitchen, and I told her, please get me a glass for water. And she looked at me like, okay. And she went open. Now remember, she hasn't been in that kitchen before to do stuff. And she went, grabbed, and there you go. I was like, I want to make some scrambled eggs. Can you grab me the pan? And she went, and there you go. And I could see my ex's jaw falling. And I said, see, this is, and there were a couple more things. And he just couldn't believe, and I said, this is because women are very efficient with their move, and when you're cooking, sometimes you have a set amount of time that can be very short between this step and this step in cooking. And they all were organized the kitchen very logically, depending on the cooking and how you cook and all that. And I also told him, and you have to be very, very aware of something. If you see a kitchen in which the sink is on the opposite side of the kitchen or far away from the stove, that kitchen was designed by an architect who either is single or who never has anything to do in the kitchen in his house, only his wife does. Because, logically, you want your sink to be close to the stove, right? So anyway, it's the same thing with the crafting. Think about what are your closest things. As you notice, I do sometimes get up and I have to get things, but those would be acrylic paints, all kinds of pigments and powders, or waxes and stuff like that. But what I use the most often, I have here, and again, I have this little cart on wheels where I have all my conditioned clay by brand and type, where I have my cling wrap, where I have my wax paper, where I have my aluminum foil, and the textures that I use the most for backings, my yo clay textures. So, and I do have some other stuff like the square pairs and things like this. So this is very important. Start doing all that. Reorganize your whole house and craft room and everything. It is a big project, but divide it. Divide it in small little pieces and start adding up this kind of stuff only after you have done 2 things a day for at least 2 or 3 weeks. So 1 thing a day for 2 or 3 weeks, 2 things a day for 2 or 3 weeks. Add the third, which might or might not be crafting. You can kind of make a combination, like in organizing something in your craft room. But again, and 3 things for 2 or 3 days. And then when you get to the 4th thing, and you stop. 4 things a day are fine. But one of them is going to be something related to crafting. I hear you. Again, don't go to something too big, or if it is a big project, like you can do the whole house, you can see the whole house as a big project, but divide it in smaller projects. And remember, you have another thing to look at it is that you have revolving stuff that you have to do, if not every day, every other day, or every 3 or 4 days, or every week. So try, and it's not a bad thing if you get one of those calendars and put it in that calendar. And my thing is that I use Excel, so it's easy for me to insert. But if you have a bad day, you can either delay everything by 1 day, or just, this is my day of rest. And coming to this is again very, very important. Take yourself 1 day of rest a week. Doesn't matter which day you choose. Mine, for example, is Monday. So you can cook yourself something ahead of time, a day before, or get something ready. So all you have to do is to just eat, nap, play with your pets or your grandkids or your kids, and go outside, do some shopping, do whatever you like to do. That's uh, an activity that is either very relaxing or very enjoyable, but something that doesn't require a lot of focusing and a lot of attention, unless it is, binge watching something. But that is not really. That's leisure. That's what you need to do. Some leisure activities, and that is again very, very important. So this is going to help you pick yourself up. Start with one a day, but don't stop with one a day. That is very, very important. So my back starts hurting. I told you, just sitting on a chair for a long um, period of time, and we can just, I don't know, discuss it. I can start on the community tab, and we can just post one of our achievements. It's gonna be a long, long, long thread, but we kind of help each other. So I can start a thread on the community tab, and we can uh, lift each other up with that. Okay? So I hope to see you tomorrow. We're gonna talk about how to fix the findings on the hoop earrings in order to be able to attach the ear wires, and then we'll make a pair of earrings that will be then finished with beading, and it's going to be a simple beginner thing that Anna Gabaldon Carrasco from Celebrate Creations is going to make, and we are going to have a week from tomorrow co-hosted live. Okay, I hope you will enjoy it, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Bye.